you should gain between 8 to 13 kgs. But that's a very, very generic sort of statement. Ghees are good. Ingredients that go in the laddus are good. But the quantity is what makes the difference. Start walking as soon as you feel okay. There's absolutely no barrier on that. Start with core rehabilitation, which is designed for postpartum mothers. Even if you have six-pack abdominal muscles after delivery, you still have to do your rehab. It is that important. Whenever we talk about working out, it's never about aesthetics. Aesthetics follow if you do it. Breathwork, connection breath is the holy grail of your recovery. Devoid of too much of oil and spices because the hormones are raging in pregnancy after. I always hear from new mums is I have to eat a lot of food because they understand that your lactation is coming from there. There are no special foods which help your body detox. The body is capable of detoxifying itself. The biggest problem with wraps and tying tummy belts is that they upset intra-abdominal pressure if not used correctly.
Hey parents, welcome to another episode of the Modern Indian Parent Podcast, a podcast that is redefining parenting in Indian families. I'm Sanchita Daswani, a pediatric nutritionist, and every week we bring you episodes to own your modern parenting choices, even if Nani and Dadi don't agree with them. Today's episode is part of our Mom Bod Series, where we are celebrating our incredible bodies after giving birth and learning about how to get healthier, fitter, and even more beautiful. In this episode, we are joined by Ankita Sahni, the founder of Mama Be Fit, who will be joining us to chat all about how we can strengthen our bodies immediately after giving birth to resolve issues like diastasis recti that gives moms the mommy pooch after birth, urinary incontinence, and much more. Ankita is a certified postpartum coach on a mission to design and deliver the best programs to help mothers get back to fitness and nutrition postpartum. Over the last 5 years, her team and her at Mama Be Fit have trained over 2,500 moms to reclaim their bodies and regain their strength. And in this episode, she will be joining us to answer all the questions new moms have on how to feel their best and look their best again. So let's welcome her to the podcast. Welcome, Ankita, to the Modern Indian Parent Podcast. How are you doing today?
Thank you. Thank you so much for having me. And I'm very honored to be here. And I'm good. How are you doing? How's everything?
Yeah, I'm good. Thank you so much. This episode is part of our Mom Bod Series, where we are doing different episodes to just help moms feel like themselves again and know that there's help out there and know that we've all been through this. And in today's episode, we are really here to talk all about postpartum bodies, because that is something that all of us moms are so nervous about. We don't know how we're going to recover after giving birth. And this is something that is your expertise, and we're so happy to have you here. And just to get started, we'd love to know a little bit about your journey in this postpartum field and also about your company Mama Be Fit.
All right, great. So I really liked certain words you use, that it's about recovery postpartum as opposed to just weight loss postpartum and things like that. So that's great. But just coming back to my own journey, I had my child about 5.5 years back. And I remember she was delivered via a C-section, and at about 7 weeks I felt like, yeah, I can sort of step out and start my workout. So I went for a walk that day and I felt great. And the next day I was like, yeah, I'm totally fine. Let's start running. Which was the absolute worst thing to do, right? Because that is not what you should be doing as a step one when you're getting back to fitness. And I had been into fitness before that, from the age of 17, 18 up till 33, 34 when I delivered her, right? So that was the time where I felt that I ran and now my lower back is paining. This is not the right way. But what is the right way? So I started Googling, and it was a lot of mixed information, right? So there was nothing structured, especially in India. So all the resources that I was getting were all international links, international coaches and things like that. Of course, there were some coaches here, but far and few. Right. And even in pregnancy, I remember I was in Bangalore and I was looking for someone to train me online. I wasn't a coach back then. And I spoke to someone who's a coach here, very well known, and she of course does strength, but she was like, it's very hard to find prenatal coaches, right? So I think that experience, and then the experience of really not finding the right information, no guidance, even from the gynecologist or the hospital, it's very broken. I was like, if I'm going through it knowing fitness for so long, I'm sure people who've not been into it for so long don't really understand what's happening. So I was like, let's just get certified, let's study the anatomy, then study the female anatomy, and then do something in this space. So that's where the idea of Mama Be Fit was born, from a very, very personal journey.
Yeah, that's so beautiful, because even as you were saying, even for me, the reason that I am a child nutritionist today is because when I had my kids and I had to start solids, there was so much scattered information out there. Again, there was no structure. There was no one catering to the Indian diet as well. And the need also came from that experience. So it's also beautiful how we go through childbirth and we come out with this whole new sense of finding this expertise. I want to get right into the topic because there's so many questions that moms have. So the first one is, there's so many moms after they deliver, they look like they didn't have a baby, like they just snap back right to it. And then other moms really struggle to lose the weight. And even when it comes to how much women need to, how much weight they put on, everyone is so different. So I'd love to ask you, is there a normal amount of weight that you should be gaining? Is there a normal amount of weight that is normal to lose, or is it really dependent per person?
Yeah, I'm glad you asked that, because generally what I hear from everybody is, okay, you should gain between 8 to 13 kgs. But that's a very, very generic sort of statement. Every body is different and every need is different, right? So if you're, say, in the obese category when you conceive, then we're looking at you gaining a lot less than somebody who's underweight or under in the BMI. And then, of course, in the average BMI. So it's different ranges of weight that one needs to gain. So say for an obese person, a 6 to 8 would be gained. Someone who's in the right BMI, maybe somewhere between the 8 to 12 kg mark is good. And of course, if you're underweight, then again, we calculate and get to it. So there is no one rule that applies to all. And then again, a lot of time, even if you're told to gain 10 kgs, you may gain more or less. And that is so dependent on how hormones are reacting to a particular body. Like in my case, the minute I have hormonal changes, there's a lot of puffiness that comes, but it may not happen to that extent for someone else. So weight is not just the fat we're gaining, but also the water and the fluid retention that's happening in the body. So yeah, I would say it's person dependent. Answering the first part of your question, why there are some people who snap back and why there are some who don't, I think that is a combination of multiple factors. One, of course, genetically, if you are someone who has a faster metabolism, then it is easier for you to burn that fat. If you've always been working out, have had a good diet where protein is good and your omegas are good and your fibers are good, and of course the complex carbs are good, in those cases, we've seen the muscle mass to already be high. So because the muscle mass is high, the fat burning is anyway faster. And that's really metabolism that we keep talking about. So you'll see them snapping back. So I think that is the second reason. And lastly, of course, it's hormones. How are the hormones working? Is your body in a toxic environment where there is inflammation, and then combined with hormones, is it slowing down weight loss for you? Or is it another aspect of it altogether? So I think when you look at these 3 points, then you understand, okay, why this person may lose or this person may not lose. And of course, diet. I mean, what is the nutrition that you had in pregnancy? What is it that you start having post? I mean, in India, there's so much about the laddus and the ghees and the overloading on carbs, which is in a way opposite to what you should be doing. The ghees are good. Ingredients that go in the laddus are good, but the quantity is what makes the difference. And I think that is why for some people who don't go that route will not gain so much, but a lot of people, the first 45-50 days is just so much fat and carbs that then you end up gaining something which is far harder to lose, because that is pure fat.
Yeah, I think it's also because when we are pregnant, of course, we use that as an excuse that we can eat more and all of that. And of course, yes, we want to nourish ourselves if our body's asking for it. But I think the issue is when we overdo it, or we just overindulge and take advantage even after we give birth. Okay, we're breastfeeding, we can just eat whatever it is. But as you're saying, it's about understanding that yes, a little bit more is necessary, but not overdoing it. And yeah, I think it's important for us to know that we're also different. And I think we do compare. Like I remember I compare all the time. Like I'm like, oh my God, like you look so good. Like it took me so much time. But I guess that's something we're trying, right, as women, to just not to change, right? So what is normal, like once we have our kids, in terms of body changes? what is normal to be seeing? Like, is it normal to really have a belly? Is it normal to, like, certain symptoms that we feel?
So I would say a lot of things happen which are common. I wouldn't say anything is normal, because just because something is common doesn't mean we don't need to work on it. So for example, if you have a belly that's hanging post delivery, if you have constant lower back pains, you have urine leakage which has sort of increased after delivery, those are things which are commonly seen, but then there are ways to work on it, and that's why I don't categorize it as normal. So the way my work is that I speak to at least 8 to 10 people a day, and once we've understood the concerns is when we offer the solutions we have. But in this scenario, a lot of people come back and say things like, okay, I've been told I've had a C-section, so I'm always going to have this mommy pouch, or because I took the epidural, the lower back pain is there. But these are pure myths. It's common, but there are ways to work around that. So I would say what you see after a baby is born, whether that's hanging belly or whether that's a DR, whether that's loose skin, whether that's bloating, it is going to happen. So let's not be alarmed by it. Do you have to live with it? No, there can be things done with it. So you can expect these changes. Again, because of the rising hormones, the one area that you might see more fat is around the belly, around the hips, sometimes on the chest. That's because of the hormones itself. So when you start working with them, you will see the changes, or that part coming down.
And once we deliver, because you had mentioned about how you went on a run a few weeks after giving birth, whether you have a C-section or a vaginal birth, does it make a difference on when you can actually start moving and working out?
So we've had different researches more recently, because we try and keep understanding what is happening in this space. Where breathwork is concerned, I met a gynecologist a few days back. She was like, breathwork, whether it's C-section or vaginal, can actually start as early as the second or the third day. But if you're starting off with workouts, which is again gentle core rehab, we should wait for about 3 to 4 weeks if it's a vaginal delivery, 6 to 8 weeks if it's a C-section. Again, very broad terms. Somebody might be ready to do this at 2 weeks, somebody might be ready at 4 weeks. But I think these are the broad timelines. And of course, as coaches need to only allow you to start once we have a go-ahead from your primary healthcare provider, which is your OBGYN.
Okay, and like basic walking, like when can we start that?
That you can start as early as you're comfortable. So you feel that I'm okay to walk 10 minutes, 15 minutes, twice a day, thrice a day, it's fine. I think it's also very, very good for the mind at that time. It's extremely overwhelming for both all of us, right? So I think that just 15 minutes of having your time helps with your mood, will start kicking your metabolism, will start helping your hormones a lot. So walking is the most underrated, but one of the best things you can do for yourself. So yeah, I would say start walking as soon as you feel okay. There's absolutely no barrier on that. Of course, speeds matter. You're not going to start walking brisk and running and jogging, but a nice walk which is slightly fast is absolutely good.
Okay, so as soon as we give birth, whenever we feel ready, start doing some walking, some basic movement, because it's good even for our mental health and physically as well. And then you're saying around post a month or so, once you get a go ahead, you can start doing some light training in terms of, because I guess all of these exercises work on the core. So even Pilates, yoga, strength training, you're saying post around 1 month we can start?
No, so I would say don't start with any of the formats that you may be doing before delivery. Start with core rehabilitation, which is designed for postpartum mothers. So yes, a Pilates may come close to it, a yoga might come close to it, gentle strength may come, but it is still not rehab. So in rehab, what happens is you're relearning breathing, you're relearning connection, you're re-understanding your core, you're working on your mobility posture. Once you've invested a couple of months there, then you're ready to sort of start building in a little bit of strength, a little bit of yoga. So start with postpartum core rehab is the one thing that all of us have to do. I don't even any longer say should do, you can do. This is what you have to do if you want to get back to fitness the right way.
And that's so interesting because I don't think most women do that. I think they just go straight back into their classes. I remember because I had a C-section and I delivered 2 months early. So I took 2-3 months. And then after that, I was like, I want to go back to strength training. And I remember someone, I don't know how, but somehow I heard about it. They're like, no, you cannot start going back to it until you do rehab for 2-3 months. And I remember I did it. And I think I'm the only one from my friends who did. The lady told me, she said, I need to make sure your body is ready to handle it again. So we have to take it slow. And now I'm making that connection with what you said. Why do you feel like so many women just kind of jump back into it and they're not taking that time for that rehab? Is it just lack of awareness?
I think one is definitely lack of awareness, but the good news is now more and more people are aware. I am so happy when I do my calls. I get calls from across India. There are tier 2 cities, there are tier 3 cities which book calls with us, and now everybody is 8 out of 10 women are aware of diastasis and core. So that makes me so happy that yes, they know that this is what you need to do post delivery. So lack of awareness, yes. And I think there is that very broken bridge from delivery till getting back to gym. There you have to bridge that gap. And once we're getting out with the baby, say 3 days, 4 days post delivery, if your gynecologist or your physiotherapist tells you that, okay, this is what it is, you have to come back for a 4-week check, we'll check if you have any issues with the core, and this should be your protocol. And maybe if they have tie-ups with postpartum coaches or they have coaches in the hospital, they should come back. I think the biggest difference that I see with international clients and Indian international clients and people who live in India is this: they're very aware outside. They already know that this is what they have to do. The missing puzzle for them could be that they don't have so many options. The missing puzzle here is that they just don't know what to do. So I think it starts with the hospital itself educating them. I mean, we have the Lamaze classes, we have the lactation classes. Why is there no class dedicated to mothers? It almost feels like, okay, it's all about the baby and the mom in pregnancy, and then it's again about the baby, the lactation and the hourly feeds and the weight gain and the counting of the P's. But what about the mom? What does she need to do for weeks? And you have time. It's not like we're telling you to start right now. Take your 4 weeks, 6 weeks, settle down a little bit, and then it's just gentle work that one needs to start. So I think, yeah, awareness and a helping hand is what is missing.
I think it's also because we're in such a rush to get back to how we used to look like. So we feel like, let's get back to our routine of our strength training Pilates, which was helping us keep the weight off. So we're just rushing into that we don't want to take that transition period. So I'd love to learn a little bit more from you about, number one, what is diastasis recti? I know a lot of people, we've heard this term, and if you could clarify for us what it is and why is it so important to take care of?
Yeah. So see, diastasis recti is ultimately the separation of your rectus abdominis. Now we all have the 6-pack ab muscle. For most of us, they are close together, and then of course it can be masked by bloating, it can be masked by fat. Now this will stretch to accommodate that growing baby. So for all of us, this will happen. We will have a diastasis in pregnancy. Once the baby comes out, this should go back to its position on its own in the first 3 months. But after 3 months, if say a gap persists, so then it can look like a belly which is still pregnant. It can give you constant lower back pains. It can give you a lot of bloating. And in general, the biggest sign of this is you've done everything, all sorts of workout for years, but the belly still remains unchanged. So that's when we know there is diastasis. So this essentially is diastasis, which now has names like the mommy pooch and the hanging belly and the baby belly. Ultimately, it's just the gap in your rectus abdominis muscles. Because the muscles have lost their tension, they've lost their strength, then they just sort of bulge out because they no longer have the tenacity to be together.
So when you give birth to the time you check at 3 months, should it naturally go back, or is there something you need to be doing to help it go back?
So it will go back on its own if, say, you were always active before. So people who've been working out before pregnancy, in pregnancy, we've seen them bouncing back very quickly. But if you've not done that, then yes, you should start working at 4 to 6 weeks so that it comes back. Now, having said that, say you are someone in whose case I feel that, yeah, you will anyway not have DR. Does that mean you don't start the rehab? No. So irrespective of DR or no DR, I always say this one line: even if you have 6-pack abdominal muscles after delivery, you still have to do your rehab. It is that important. So yes, rehab can fasten the pace at which the gap bridges, but is it absolutely necessary? It is necessary because your core needs that work.
And what if, okay, so you find out that you have this split post 3 months, 4 months, it's still there. So you're saying there's certain exercises that you can do to help bring it back, or how do you actually help get it back?
Of breathing, posture work, working on your transverse abdominis, pelvic floor and diaphragm, all together is called core rehab. When you do core rehab, you are going to help your DR, which is diastasis recti. You're going to help urine leakage. You're going to help pelvic floor issues. You are going to help lower back pain. So there are no specific DR exercises. It is core exercises. It's deep core exercises which can help you recover from a gap.
So many of my friends, their kids are older now, and like a lot of them are joking that, oh, my belly is still out, it's not gone back in. So is it too late if it's been like post a few years, or is there still hope Because I know a lot of
There's
people did not
always
do
hope.
the rehab.
There's always hope. One can do it at any point. Yes, it takes longer. That's what I always say. If you start at 3 months, 4 months post delivery, the response time of the muscle is very quick. I've seen that in every client. But somebody who's starting, say, 4 years, 5 years, we've had people even join after their kids are 15, 20. It takes longer, but it can happen. Sometimes, though, the DR can reach a threshold, right? You've done all sorts of rehab, you've done all sorts of exercises, and nothing is responding. At that time, we may have some interventional methods that we use, but if you've never done rehab, it is never too late. You can always start.
Okay, yeah. No, because that's the thing that so many parents still, the moms really struggle with that. It's that mommy pooch. And I want to ask you now a little bit about something called urinary incontinence. So can you explain what that is?
Yeah, so urine incontinence is essentially leaking of urine in the most basic way. When you're sort of full in the bladder, sometimes it happens even without being full. Any pressure, you cough, you sneeze, you laugh hard, you'll see a little bit of drop coming out. Some exercises which put a lot of pressure on your pelvic floor, like jumping jacks, skipping, those can ease it. Now, the reason this happens is not just a weak pelvic floor. So that is the idea. Most people think my pelvic floor is gone, my pelvic floor is weak. Sometimes it's an overstressed pelvic floor. So this happens if your pelvic floor is either too stressed and overactive, which causes an imbalance of pressure, or yes, sometimes because of a very long labor, because of the pressure on the pelvic floor, it can become slightly laxed, is why this happens. So urine leakage is essentially leaking urine when, without the times that you're visiting a washroom, and it happens when the pressure is upset by things like coughing, sneezing, laughing, jumping, things like that.
Okay, and again, this can be fixed with different exercises?
Yes, it can be fixed with a lot of relaxation, come strengthening routines, right? So at Mama Be Fit, we basically have a dual approach where we will help you relax your pelvic floor and then strengthen it at times and then relax it. It's like an elastic, right? So you need to pull it and bring it back together to understand how an elastic works. It's the same thing. A pelvic floor is always elongating and shrinking. So this is a natural mechanism of the pelvic floor. With our exercises, we're helping you elongate and come back and strengthen, release the stress. So the good news again is that you can heal from it. I had urine incontinence before delivery. I did not even know what it was. And now that I understand this subject so well, I realized that I was in a boarding school when I was much younger, and over there we didn't really get the best of fibrous foods. So we were always I was constipated, and I think there was so much pressure that I applied at that time that it led to the pelvic floor becoming very stressed. And so I remember, because I was into CrossFit and things like that, there were heavy jumping routines. There were 2 or 3 times that I was leaking and everybody said, "Haan, hota hai," and it was ignored. But then when I became a mom, I understood it and worked on it. So I actually worked on it at 33, 34. Thankfully for me, the leakage was only in jumping, but a lot of people are living with it all the time. Like, I have mothers talking to me, they're wearing a panty liner, pads every day. Even when they're sitting for their normal day-to-day activity, every little movement is causing a leak. So it can be very stressful.
All these things we go through. There's so many moms that will come and tell me that I've had a child and I don't feel good, or I put on weight, or I have this belly, but I'm gonna have another one, so I might as well just finish it all off and then focus on weight loss and feeling better. Is that the right approach?
So interesting that you say this. I had a call with someone from the US last night at 9, and this was her exact statement. That should I do this because I have a 10-month-old and now I plan to have another baby in some time. I'm like, no, fitness is not just about aesthetics. That, okay, let me get done with it. Let me look however I am looking today, and then once I'm done with all the babies, I'll start working on myself. Fitness is about being strong for those babies that you have, and for yourself, and for your house, and for your work. So through pregnancy, after pregnancy, planning for a pregnancy, workouts should absolutely happen, because say you had a baby today and you plan to have another 1-2 years down the line. If you put in the right work on your core and nutrition, chances of you having a bigger belly after the second baby, or a diastasis then, or a urine leakage are minimized to such a large extent. But if you've not done anything post the first baby, then you let it go for 2 years and then you have another, obviously the impact of the first baby's delivery and the pregnancy on the core is going to just increase twofold. So I would never say that, think of it as only doing it afterwards. And again, whenever we talk about working out or fixing your core or going into the right kind of nutrition, is never about aesthetics. Aesthetics follow if you do it, but it's also just about protecting yourself so much and making sure that you're well and strong for your children and for your house.
Yeah, I think it's, as you said, it's so important that us as women, we take care of ourselves in general and not have to wait for something like pregnancy or postpartum to
Yeah.
then be like, oh, now we need to kind of understand. So exactly what you said, that's so interesting. And you're bringing up a lot about breath work and recovery as part of this. And I think so many times as moms, we just think, okay, movement, intense, like, all of this. But I'm liking that you're saying that, because it makes it sound a little bit calming and easy. So
Yeah.
how important is breath work and the more calm sense of feeling in terms of recovery, because it is coming up quite a bit?
So, if I have to just say it in one line, breath work, connection breath is the holy grail of your recovery. I tell people, if you can do nothing, just do that 5 minute of connection breath. That itself will take care of your diastasis to a large extent, take care of your lower back pain, take care of your posture. So it's very, very important. And like you rightly said, when we start going back to workout in the beginning, it's nothing intense. For whether it's a beginner or someone who's always worked out, it's all at the same level. And it's important because breath is the only way that you're able to understand how the core works with your diaphragm, abdomen, pelvic floor. Breath is the only way which you can use you can use your breath to expand the diaphragm, which may be stressed, to release your pelvic floor. So that releasing that I was talking about is actually just filling in a lot of air in the pelvic floor through various positions, which helps you relax. So breath work is very important, and yes, very calming, because we all know the power of deep breathing for your mind. And again, we started at a point where you're still very newly postpartum, so it helps with all the sleepless nights and the overwhelming sense of motherhood that sort of just kicks in for all of us, no matter how prepared we are.
So I wanted to ask you, so if you have a mom that comes to you and she's 6 months postpartum and she tells you, I have a belly and I just don't know what to do, what would be the first thing you would ask her to do?
So first thing I would ask her to do is essentially what we just spoke about, which is core rehab. So I would ask her to focus on her posture, her breath work, her transverse abdominis. So complete core rehab is what I would suggest any mom to start with.
Okay. And let's talk a little bit about nutrition. So again, there's so much different advice out there. What is, in terms of nutrition, what is the thing that moms really need to focus on? And what are things that you feel they are focusing on that are actually not that important?
I think what we need to focus on is very simple, which I think whether you're a mom or not, you should, is a balanced meal, a lot of protein. But that is something that we find very difficult because as Indians, our diet is carbohydrate first and protein is very less. So yes, but we have to slowly build that. What happens with a lot of us is we're actually having 30, 40 grams of protein and then suddenly you go on a nutrition plan, which is now 100 grams of protein. Your body will not take that. And that's where protein has got a bad name. That protein shakes are making me bloated and a lot of dal and paneer is making me bloated. It is making you bloated because obviously your gut is not used to it. So you have to up it slowly. So very simply focus on a lot of variety of vegetables, a lot of good natural fats which come from your nuts, seeds, a little bit of ghee, or from your omegas, if you're a non-vegetarian, from your fish, etc. If you're a vegan vegetarian, you can always supplement with plant-based omegas. Of course, a good amount of complex carbs so that your insulin is not rising and crashing because of because of simple carbs. So I would say very basic, simple food, devoid of too much of oil and spices because the hormones are raging in pregnancy after. Spice is just going to sometimes keep the body acidic, which we don't want. So a good alkaline balanced diet is all.
So could you give us an example of like a quick breakfast, lunch, and dinner that would be an ideal for a postpartum mom?
So I think, eggs are great, but eggs with vegetables are a source of complex carbs. So the complex carb could either be some quinoa, it could just be a sourdough, it could even be poha. So a lot of us Indians love our basic breakfast, which is our poha, upma, idli. Now with that, if you can add 2-3 eggs, you can later add a protein shake. If not a protein, if you can add a scrambled paneer, that is good. So breaking it down, a scrambled paneer on toast is good with vegetables. Eggs with vegetables and bread is good. A protein smoothie is great. Your oats with a Greek yogurt, some fruits are good. Your besan chilas are amazing with vegetables. So the basic things, but if you see everything that I've named is a combination. It's a combination of protein, combination of good fats, and definitely soluble fibers. Because protein without fiber also is a problem. So it just has to be balanced.
Okay. And I wanted to ask a little bit about, are there certain myths that you have come across regarding postpartum. So I know we spoke a little bit about how, we put a lot of ghee in the foods and all this extra stuff in there. What are some other things that you've heard people tell you and you're like, please don't do that?
Yeah. So I think one thing that I always hear from new moms is I have to eat a lot of food. I have to eat a lot of carbs. So I have to eat maybe four chapatis at lunch and four chapatis at dinner because they understand that your lactation is coming from there. But your lactation is actually coming from hydration. It is coming from protein. It is coming from complex carbs. It's coming from green leafy vegetables. Again, coming back to the same thing, a balanced meal. So I think this is a myth that I would like to break. In a lot of cases, I've been very successful, but in a lot of cases, there's been pushback because the family won't agree to eating a different sort of meal. It has to be just carb heavy and fat heavy. The other myth is, which is very sad, a lot of people in the first 50, 60 days are actually pulling out all the protein from the woman's diet because they feel that that will cause gas for the baby and the baby will get colicky, which is not true. Not every baby is colicky because you're having your rajmas and chanas. Only if a certain baby reacts, then we know that this food is not suiting. So these are myths which have been built over time and it's hard to break. But the good thing is a lot of people are now pushing back, but sadly some people cannot. And then we try and work with whatever their options are.
Do you feel there is, I know a lot of people don't like this word, but is there a superfood for moms that you feel like, oh, they should be having every day? I know you mentioned eggs, for example, are great, but is there one superfood, whether it's like a seasoning or anything that they can add in the diet?
I'd say there isn't one. There are several. But rather than emphasizing on special things like a moringa or maybe a beetroot powder, I think if you go seasonal and local and pick what is available easily in the area that you're in, that is your superfood because that is what your gut is used to, right? So your gut is going to be able to digest and give you the benefits. I'll give you a small example. Say if I've grown up in a North Indian family eating my sabzi, roti, dal, and now suddenly I switched to maybe just having maybe ragi balls. Now ragi balls and the ragi that I'm getting in a particular area may not be that fresh. It's actually coming in from another city. So it's going through the process of being preserved and procured and all of that, the processing. But if I have to just go and have my sabzi, it may be just available at a farmland nearby. So what is better for me? Something that is farm to table very quickly as opposed to something that's going to go through supply chain. So I say a superfood is local. It's a lot of variety. Like try and have at least 3 vegetables on your plate daily. Try and have different forms of protein. Hydration is a superfood. So you'll always hear me talking about very basic things as superfood, but honestly they are. Hydration is superfood. Your fruits, your 3, 4 fruits, seasonal fruits are superfood. Complex carbs are superfood. So anything balanced is what I would say is good. But again, vitamins are important. So for women, because we've already grown a baby inside and then you're feeding, a lot of that is coming from your own fat stored, from your own bones, the calcium, etc. So make sure the multivitamins are going along whatever diet you're taking.
So you do agree that women should be taking certain vitamins during pregnancy and post?
100%. 100%, because no matter how hard we try with nutrition, what happens is we sometimes don't know the source of where a particular thing is coming from. So it may be actually really mixed and you think it's very organic and pure. So to supplement that, you should take a supplement. Plus, our body is working twice what it does without a baby in the tummy and after, right? So for you are supporting two lives. So for that, a little bit of support from supplements and vitamins is extremely helpful and beneficial. They also have antioxidant properties. So any toxins that you're holding in the body will also get a boost to release with that.
Yeah, speaking about kind of releasing toxins and all, because a lot of times when after we give birth, a lot of the parents and the elderly will say, oh, you need to drink this water, that water to remove all that extra water retention and all that, I guess we say the toxins or whatever's left in the body. So what's your view on what can we do to help actually release all those extra stuff stuck in our body, I guess?
Yeah. So, I always say this, there are no special foods which help your body detox. The body is capable of detoxifying itself. Again, what you can help your body with, say you're constipated or you feel that, I'm just feeling very bloated or there is some amount of inflammation. What you should do at that point is switch to foods which are easy easily digestible, because body is already working very hard to eliminate what is there in your body. Now if you try and top that up with things which are not easy to digest, you're going to have a problem. So simple things like lemon waters, excellent for eliminating toxins from your body. You're constipated for a long time, simple things like a cucumber and watermelon salad, it works beautifully. The one thing we give people for constipation is that, especially after delivery, a lot of brothy soups, because they are anti-inflammatory in nature. Anything anti-inflammatory is going to help your body detox. Simple Indian spices like your raw turmeric, raw pepper teas, etc. Very good to boost your metabolism and bring down all the inflammation. So yes, there are things which can support the body for better metabolism, better digestion. But is there a particular food that will help you detox? No. The detoxing is done by the kidney and the liver, and it's capable if it's healthy.
Okay. And the last two questions I have is after giving birth in Hong Kong, like I'm in Hong Kong right now, and it's very popular to do those wraps, right? So I did it, and I had this lady come and she put all these herbs on me, and then she wrapped me up really tight. And she said, okay, this will help you kind of get everything back in and all of that. And I'd sleep with it. I feel it helped me get back into shape. What's your view on these wraps?
No, so no wrap and no tummy ties are reason enough for your tummy to come back to its position. The only thing that they actually benefit you with is, say you're physically very active, say you have two toddlers and then a new baby and you're on your feet a lot. It can support your lower back, but again, you have to know how to tie it, because the biggest problem with wraps and tying tummy belts is that they upset intra-abdominal pressure if not used correctly. And intra-abdominal pressure is, again, everything to rehab your core. So anything upsetting that is going to weaken your core recovery. So to get back your tummy, invest in core rehab exercises, invest in a good nutrition plan. That's all. Use belts for support. Sometimes we've seen a big hernia. In that case, a belt can help keep all the organs together. In some cases, we've seen a lot of laxity in the muscles. To just support that, we can help have the belt. Like people use the belt in the gyms. Why do they use it? To just make sure that the core is really braced, apart from the inside bracing that we're doing. So those are things that it helps with. Does it help you come back to shape? No.
So it's more for the support, not really to kind of
Yes,
shrink everything
absolutely.
in.
Absolutely.
Okay, amazing. And my last question to you today would be, so many moms listening to this, they're like, okay, great. This all sounds great, but I don't have the time. How am I going to do this? What are your words of encouragement or advice for moms who are just not able to find that time to start with core rehab, or even like, to get on a call with you? They're just hesitant to like even start the process.
So see, one thing I have to always say is that you have to start slow. Try and see if you can just take out an hour just 3 times a week. So can you take out 3 hours over 7 days? Just figure that out. Secondly, I truly believe that if you want to do something, you will make time for it, right? And I know it's hard with a baby. So I'm not going to say you're lazy. No one is. Everybody wants to come back. But I always say, if you have time to eat those 3 meals, if you have time to watch a certain show on TV, you can definitely make time for yourself. What happens is, many times we're so stressed and overburdened that just another activity sounds stressful, and it's fair, right? But I feel that if you can start slow, if you can take help, if you can give your wellness into the hands of someone who's an expert, you're sorted, right? Because then you don't need to worry about what I have to eat. You don't need to worry about what I have to do. It's done for you. All you have to do is just show up 2 or 3 times a week.
Okay, yeah, no, I think exactly what you said. If we can find time for the things, if we
Yeah.
really want to do it. And I think as women now, it's amazing to see, and I'm sure you see it with all your clients, how women are really stepping up for themselves and taking that time. So thank you so much for being here today. I've learned a lot. And I think this is very encouraging for all the moms out there to really start moving, getting back into shape. It is possible. And we will also link all your details below so they can contact you as well. Thank you for being here today.
Thank you so much. It was wonderful, always wonderful to talk about motherhood, and especially when it comes to just self-care. And I hope this helps a lot of moms, a lot of women who watch this. Thanks again.
Thank you.